John Denton. This is the Magic Beat with John Denton. Uh, we're going to do this show like sports writers. We're sports writers. This is not going to be a rah rah fan show. I've been a sports writer my whole life. Dick Scanlon's with me. He's been a sports writer for years. This is going to be a sports writer type feel to this show. We're going to tell you like it is. We're not going to sugarcoat things. Um, I covered the Magic. If you know me, that means you've probably been a long-time Magic fan. I covered the Magic for 24 years. Dick Scanlon covered the Magic for the Lakeland Ledger, NBA.com, and most recently the Associated Press. Dick has covered the team all 37 years. Dick, this is usually a dead period in the NBA, but we actually have NBA news today. How excited are you to tear through this Magic schedule that was released about an hour ago?
You can't complain about that in August when there's an actual NBA happening.
Yep. We got a new Magic schedule. We got a new TV home for the Magic. The Magic are going to be on open air TV. They're going to be on WFTV Channel 9, and they're going to be on TV 27 locally throughout Central Florida. So, hey, that's what they're doing this year. You know, we all know that the regional sports cable channels kind of folded. So the Magic and about 13 other NBA teams had to go find new homes. And this year, the Magic are going to be on WFTV Channel 9 and TV 27. So that's cool. But first, let's tear through the Magic schedule. It's out. It came out today at 3 o'clock. The Magic open their season October 21st against the Southeast Division rival Atlanta Hawks. And then they get the Minnesota Timberwolves 2 nights later, the new look Timberwolves. Timberwolves have LaMelo Ball now to pair with Anthony Edwards. So that's going to be interesting. So the first two are at home, and then they hit the road for a really rough stretch. At the Knicks, 2 games at the Raptors, and then come back home and play the Celtics, which we're all curious to see how they look with Jason Tatum running the show. No more Jaylen Brown there. Paul George, what's left of him, will be playing for the Celtics now. And then the next night, the Magic get the Wizards at home. New look and Wizards with Anthony Davis and Trae Young and number one overall pick AJ Debonsa. Dick, what do you think about that first six? That's a pretty rough start right there. You get the world champion Knicks in there. You get 2 tough home games, and you got to go to Toronto for 2.
Well, sitting here on August 13th, I'll say this. If you're a Magic fan, you get out your calendar and put down November. When is that Celtics game? November 2nd or 1st?
Yeah, that's like the third game. That's
Yeah,
the third
the
game.
sixth
Yeah.
game. Yeah, I would
Hmm.
say if the Magic are 3-3 after the first 6 games, that is a very good sign.
Yep.
And
Yep.
even two and four would be okay, because that is probably as tough. I mean, on paper, that's probably as tough of a 6 game stretch as you're going to have. Toronto beat them by 52 points last year. They got to play 2 straight games in Toronto, and then Minnesota and Atlanta beat them pretty good too. If they can muddle through those first 6 at 3-3, I would say they're in for a good year.
Dick, do you think the New Orleans Pelicans knew that Jamal Mosley lost to the Raptors by 52 when they hired him as their next head coach?
I don't know. I, I'm sure they'll hopefully can. I'm sure they're hopeful he can keep it under 45 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean,
All
yeah,
right.
it's that was just wow,
Oh,
man.
brutal.
That's a
Love.
that's a brutal memory of a terrible loss. But geez, Toronto,
Yeah, yeah,
that's one of those teams that just really took a big step up in the East last year.
yeah. If the
And
Magic are going to
Atlanta's
make the
another one.
playoffs, yeah, the Magic are going to make the playoffs. They're going to have to beat teams like Atlanta
Yeah.
and Toronto early in the season. LeBron James comes to Orlando November 18th and December 14th. That December 14th game is going to be on Peacock. That's going to be one of 8 games that the Magic will appear on national TV this year. They'll place the Knicks twice on national TV, the Heat twice, Celtics once, Philly once, Indiana once, and Atlanta once on national TV. So 8 appearances. So that's much better than in the past. You know, the national networks are planning on the Magic being a part of this playoff mix. Here's something that's a little bit disappointing and kind of weird. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the hated Heat, Miami Heat, they don't come to Orlando until February 12th and August 5th.
Yeah.
The Magic don't play in Miami until March 10th, and then they play in Miami the last game of the season. Dick, what do you think about that schedule of not seeing the Heat at all until February 12th?
Is some of the things they come out with, the Magic will not see the Heat until after the Super Bowl, and they will be done with the 76ers before Christmas, right?
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Get your tickets now for LeBron James.
Well, LeBron James, and there's a couple other guys on that team that are pretty decent too, by the
I've
way.
heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
They may not have enough basketballs to go around on that starting five. I've heard.
That will be one of the great themes of the
Yeah.
upcoming season.
How about this, Dick? The world champion New York Knicks. They don't come to the Kia Center until March 28th and March 30th, back to back. There's a New York back to back with a day in between. But get this, the first game will be televised by ESPN. The second game will be televised by NBC. Little Knicks magic, like in the old days when NBC would roll in with Ahmad Rashad and Bob Costas, and feels like that, in March when you have the Knicks play. Obviously, we're going to see the Knicks on national TV a lot this year. Do you
Yeah,
believe in the Knicks, Dick? Can they be a contender again?
I I believe in him, especially
Uh,
especially in Jalen Brunson. But think of it this way, John: if you're a long-suffering Knicks fan in Florida, or let's say north of Miami, and you're waiting to see your world champion Knicks, I mean, you only have to wait until what, the end of
May.
March,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yep. That's a long time. Yep. Yeah. What
Right.
was it? Oh, March
That'll
28th and March
probably
30th. Yeah.
that'll probably be during Final Four weekend, right?
Yeah. I guess
or
so.
or
I
or
guess
the
so.
or the Sweet 16 weekend probably.
Yeah,
So wow, yeah,
that's usually a big weekend in Orlando. The golf tournament's in town. The Magic
indeed.
Knicks will be here. Yeah, the Final Four will be going on. Luka Doncic and the Lakers, they don't come to Orlando until March 2nd. So a lot of the big games for the Magic are going to play are not till the spring, it seems like. So,
Yeah,
those are always dates you kind of circle on the calendar. It's always different when the Lakers come to town. I know last year was a crazy game with a game winner hit by the Lakers, but that's one you always look for on the schedule. Here's one that Dick will be excited about: the NBA Cup. Dick, it's back again for its fourth season. The Magic made it to the semifinals last year before losing to
right.
the Knicks. Maybe you should have known when the Knicks won the NBA Cup that they were ready to be NBA champions. What? Tell me your feelings on the NBA Cup.
Well, I don't have much feeling at all for the NBA Cup, but I mean, it you can't say it's a bad idea because obviously the first couple months of the NBA, until the holidays, the end actually and probably through the holidays, the NBA season is just so overshadowed by football and other things, and in college basketball locales, it's
Yeah,
it's overshadowed by. So there's so much going on other than the NBA at that time. So why not try? And I mean, the concept is a good idea, but it just everybody just rolls their eyes. It just hasn't caught on in spite of
yeah,
all the hype. You notice they released the cup games before the rest of the schedule because I guess everybody's supposed to get all excited and get their tickets or something. And it just, I'm sorry, but it just hasn't caught on. I almost kind of wish it would. And maybe now that the Knicks and the Lakers have won it, maybe the hype will register. But so far, it's just amazing considering how much effort they've put into it. That just
yeah,
nobody seems to. I mean, it's forgotten the next day. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. You don't think the Lakers hung a banner the year they won the cup? Do you think they hung a banner next to Wilt Chamberlain's number and Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's number? You don't think that happened?
Maybe they did because it's probably the last thing they're going to win in a long time.
That's right. That's right. The Magic play the first Cup game at Toronto, October 30th. Then they have the Bucks in Orlando. They have the Nets in Orlando, or at the Nets, and then they play those Pistons in a playoff rematch in the Cup battle. Here you go, Dick. The Group B is the group of death. It has the Knicks,
Wow.
Sixers, Cavs, Pacers, and Heat. How about that? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to. You wouldn't want to be in that one. Group C: Celtics, Bulls, Hornets, Wizards. The one thing I like about the cup, and I know it's gimmicky as hell, but it works, are those crazy courts that they have. When you're flipping
Yeah.
through the channels and you see a red basketball court, you're going to
Yeah.
stop every time. And I catch myself when I see that
Yeah.
court, I stop to find out what the deal is, and it works. You know, it draws me into. It lets me know that this game is a little bit special, even though we kind of roll our eyes at the NBA Cup. It has brought a little bit of excitement to some of those early season games.
Yeah, that's a good point. The floors have kind of caught on a little bit. They're colorful and they grab your attention, and maybe they should do a little more of that or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bright colors, that is kind of cool. But yeah, and again, I don't think the NBA Cup is a bad idea. It's just like the schedule in American sports is so locked into, preparing for the playoffs and everything. But the NBA is a little different because its regular season is so tedious and there's so many games that don't seem to matter. So nobody tunes in until after football is done. But so far, it just doesn't seem to be grabbing anybody. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Dick, let's move on to the new TV home for the Magic. Magic, like we talked about earlier, we all know that the regional cable networks have all collapsed. That left a lot of Major League Baseball teams scrambling for homes. It left, I think it was 13 or 14 NBA teams scrambling for homes.
Yeah.
The Magic will now, their non-national TV games will appear on WFTV, Channel 9, ABC in Orlando, here in Orlando, and WRDQ TV 27 here in Orlando. Hey, if your network goes away, at least the Magic are putting them on over-the-air broadcasts. Fans will have access to these games. We'll be able to watch them. I mean, if you have rabbit ears, you can watch these games even without a cable subscription. Dick, do you think this is a good fallback for the NBA? After kind of losing their networks and losing a big check that they've all kind of depended on, the Magic have reverted back. This is the way it used to be back in when the Magic first came about, 89, 90. They were on over the air TV. Is this a good scramble plan for the NBA and the Magic?
It sounds like it. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. They're going to get all their, they're going to get all their games on TV, except I guess the ones that are nationally televised. They're all going to be on this new this new network setup. Yeah, I mean, from a fan's point of view, I don't see it doing anything but getting at least as good or better.
Mm-hmm.
As long as all the games are on and you got a good crew doing the games, and
Yeah.
seems like Orlando does pretty well at that.
Yeah. Let's go back to the schedule and break down a couple of things. Any NBA team, the first thing they're going to look at is how many back-to-backs do they have, because those are the ones that wear teams out. The Magic have 14 back-to-backs. 6 of them are away to away, which is not so bad. 4 of them are home to away, which is, that's a tough one. That anytime you have a home to away back to back, usually that team is sitting in their own beds waiting on you to get there, and you're at a huge disadvantage. But the Magic have 4 home to home back to backs. Those are the kind where usually that team is coming to you. They've played the night before. A lot of times you'll have the night off. You'll be the more rested team. Dick, you've seen it from 37 years of covering this league. How important are the number of back-to-backs and the kind of back-to-backs that you have?
They're always talking about it and offering it as an excuse for when team goes bad. But it just seems like it shouldn't be necessary to play that many home away back to backs. I
Yeah.
mean, I could see home and home back to backs,
Hmm.
and because that isn't really much of a disadvantage, I think, to either team. Presumably the visiting team comes in and is not playing on a back to back, but it seems like they should be able to do the schedule without hardly any
Yeah.
home away back to backs.
Yeah.
I don't know why that keeps going on. Everybody complains about them all the time. It seems like it would be avoidable. Of course, what do you have now? You have a 6-day All-Star break or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that that, that cuts into it.
Personally, I wish they would, start the season 5 days earlier and mix in 5 more days off and get rid of those
Right.
back to backs. I mean,
Right.
I remember with the Magic, and there was some kind of stat at the time, teams coming from the West Coast and playing Denver on a back to back. Okay. At one time, those teams were like 1-47 because the schedule
Jeez.
makers apparently think that Denver's on the West Coast. Denver's a 2.5 hour flight from Sacramento
Wow.
or from Portland, and then you get an hour time change. You get an hour drive from that airport that's way outside of town. I mean, you're literally laying your head down 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you have to play the Nuggets at altitude. That's one of the tougher. Just to give fans an example, when players talk about back to backs, that's probably the toughest back to back in all of the NBA. Anytime you have to go from the West Coast to to Denver, or some of those
Yeah.
teams that had to go last year, I think the Lakers had to go from Dallas to Miami on a back to back, change time zones. I wish they wouldn't have. If you had a back to back, you shouldn't have to change time zones. What
Yeah.
you have any feelings on that one, Dick?
Yeah, and again, that seems like it would be doable. I mean, obviously the NBA schedule is a very complicated thing, arena dates and all the traveling and the changing of time zones, but it seems like you said, start it a little earlier or finish it a little later, or maybe cut back to 76 games or something like that, and you could eliminate back-to-backs completely.
Yeah. I heard
But
it back in the day. I don't know if it was legend or just a myth or whatever, but in his infinite wisdom, David Stern always liked the home team being the more rested team and the team on the back to back being the visiting team.
yeah,
Why is that? Because David Stern wanted those home fans seeing a win and going home
right.
happy. That was always urban legend back in the day.
Wow.
That's why a lot of you would play somewhere and then you would go somewhere else and play on
Yeah.
a back to back. And David Stern wanted the home team to kind of have an advantage because he wanted those teams going home happy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the elements in home court advantage, I guess.
yeah. Dick, let's move on to some rapid fire Q and A. I've got one here first. Paulo Banquero was on a podcast the other day, Huncho Hoops podcast. Here's his quote. Now, here's the first part. Should we be concerned that Paulo Banquero is living in LA with the history of Shaquille O'Neal leaving the Magic and going to LA, Dwight Howard leaving the Magic via trade going to LA? Should we be concerned that Paulo Banquero spends his off seasons in LA, Dick, or is that just fear mongering among us?
Both. I mean, we should be concerned because I guess everybody wants to live in LA in the NBA world. That's what it seems like. But I if Paulo's going to have, if he hits free agency at some point, I mean, the the best thing the Magic can do is win.
Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, otherwise he'll leave just like Shaq did, and
yeah,
I mean that's the reality of, I don't see any particular reason at this point to see that that he's disappointed in living in Orlando, and
yeah.
But okay, he lives in L.A. Huh? Okay,
Dick, I know you've been very complimentary of Paulo's professionalism. Here's a
yeah.
quote I want to read to you and get your reaction. Getting life changing money was a surreal experience, but I've never played this game to get money or get paid. I play to win. I want to win the Eastern Conference because the East is a beast right now. But I feel like we can make a run and bring Orlando a championship. For me, I want to be a perennial all star, an all NBA player, and an MVP. My eyes are on that kind of stuff. But that stuff only gets there if your team is good and winning. So that's the main goal, getting Orlando to an elite status. Dick, can he be a MVP candidate at some point? Does he have that kind of skill, that kind of talent?
I think so. I love that quote. I think that's Paulo. I think that's vintage Paulo right there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
careful with his choice of words, and I really think I was very impressed with his level of maturity right from the first time I ever saw him speak.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think he's handled himself very well. He's taken some unjustified blame, I think, for the team's downturn last year. And I think as expressed in that quote, I think he's determined to come back and get the team back on the right track. And that's what next year will be about to him.
Yeah, yeah. Dick, I just have one message to Paulo. Get to the free throw line.
Yeah,
Don't let your team go 10, 12 minutes without scoring. Get to the
absolutely.
rim. Get fouled, get to the rim, either score or make them foul you. He's big enough, he's talented enough. Get in the post every now and get the ball and either score or get to the foul line. That's what I want to see more of out of Paulo this year. Dick, the Bleacher Report came out with the most overrated NBA players. You'll love this one. Number one, Anthony Davis, an all NBA player, NBA champion, number one on that list. Number two, Brandon Ingram. Number three, Paulo Banchero.
Yeah.
Uh, Four, Jaron Jackson Jr., five, Miles Bridges. Six, Zion Williamson, who I personally think should be at the top of that overrated list. Number seven, Trey Young. A lot of NBA players think that Trey is, all hype and not much substance. He's very good on the offensive end, but does not play a lick of defense. Here's another guy I think should be at the top of that list, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox had four of the worst minutes in NBA Finals history. I think that alone should put him up higher on this list. Sengun at number nine, and then Austin Reeves, another guy who is wildly overrated and overpaid. Dick, what do you think about that list? First off, Paulo Banchero, he doesn't have any business being on that list, does he? I mean,
I don't
it's probably all about just win a playoff series and you won't be on lists like that, right?
I don't see it. Yeah. He had a couple of bad games against I don't know, what was it? And something happened in the middle of the year. He was hurt a little bit at the beginning of the year, but you know, I agree with you. He's got to finish in the top five in free throw attempts in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I no. Yeah, somebody said he was overrated, and so they threw him on that list. I'd like to. What is he? 22 years old. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
he, he's. I still think he's capable and on course to be first or second team All NBA. And if he's not in 5 years, then maybe you can say he's underrated. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to be on lists like that, you got to win. I mean,
Yeah,
Paulo said it in that quote earlier. He's like, if I want to be All NBA, if I want to be an
right.
NBA MVP candidate, I got to win. The
And
teams
he
that
knows
win
that.
get
Yeah,
those type of awards. Yeah.
right.
So I think when he wins his playoff series, if the Magic can end that 14-year drought with no playoff wins, no playoff series wins, if he
Yeah,
can end that, he won't appear on lists like this anymore. Where would you put
right.
Zion Williamson and Austin Reeves on that list, Dick?
Well, they got to be higher than they are than they are on that list. Yeah, and De'Aaron Fox. Wow, I mean, he had 1 year when he was really good, parts of another year when he was with Sacramento, but boy, he was a disaster in that
Yeah.
in the playoffs last year. Um, Jaren Jackson Jr., in my opinion, does not belong on that list. But again, like with Paulo, this is the year where he's set up to prove that he's justifying the hype. You know,
Dick, tell the fans about the Utah Jazz game at the Magic this past year, where
oh,
Jaron Jackson Jr. and there's someone else on that team. They were kicking the Magic's butt, and then all of a sudden they didn't play in the fourth quarter. Tell that story if you would.
who's that big guy, the 7 foot European guy, the real good shooter for
Oh, it was
Utah?
the finisher.
Yeah, yeah, I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah,
He just owned the Magic that day.
Laurie
All the
Markkinen. Laurie
game like
Markkinen. Yeah.
yeah, Markkinen. And it
Mm-hmm.
was Jaron Jackson Jr.'s first game after coming from Memphis in a trade. So now they had these two guys who the Magic just had no answers for. They went nuts. What's his name? Uh, Markkinen had like
Mm-hmm.
19 points in the first half, hitting a bunch of threes. They put a guard out on him in the second half. He went to the basket, kept scoring. He ended up with 35 or something like that. Jaren Jackson Jr. had like 15 rebounds in the first 3 quarters. They were beating the Magic like 18. They sit down at the end of the third quarter, never got back in the game, and
Yeah.
the Magic end up winning the game by like 3. It was still a very close game. It was just the most blatant tank job that
Yeah.
that I've seen. It was really kind of shameful.
It really
And
was.
the
And now
coach
they
said
get
something after the game about how they were on minutes limits or something like it. It was embarrassing to actually
yeah.
watch. But to not play either of those guys in the fourth quarter was just embarrassing. But they got their number 2 pick in the lottery out of it. So this year they're expected to be better. Let's see let's see what happens.
Yeah. You forget that Dwayne Wade is a minority owner for the Utah Jazz. Dick, I saw a video the other day,
Wow.
Dwayne Wade working with Darren Peterson, showing him some tricks of the trade. Man, that's a
Wow.
pretty good resource to have to work with your young guys, huh?
Wow, no kidding. I did
Yeah.
not realize that. A part
Yep.
owner, huh?
Yeah. He's a small. Yeah, I mean, he owns a small share, but yeah, he's a part owner, and the Jazz have him down on the floor working with their young guys. So Peterson, I think, is going to be really good. He was kind of a dog at Kansas. He didn't play every game. He pulled himself out of games, but man, he is very talented. I've already seen a lot of comparisons between him and Dwayne Wade. We'll see if that's big shoes to fill. We'll
Yeah,
see if he has the kind of fight and will that Dwayne Wade played with.
right. Well, with Mark Ennon and Jaron Jackson Jr., and they have a couple other good young guards. They should be ready to take a step up in the Western Conference. Let's see now. They've been tanking for 3 or 4 years. Now's the time to pay off.
Yep. Dick, we got 90 seconds left. Let's do story time with Scanlon. How about that? You're 37 years covering the Magic. We recently passed the 30-year anniversary of Shaquille O'Neal stunning the Magic and announcing he was leaving. There was a poll that came out in the Orlando Sentinel. Should they pay him $115 million?
Ooh.
They overwhelmingly voted no. The Olympics were going on. The team was training in Orlando. Apparently, Shaq was embarrassed by that. What are your memories of that? I know you were out of town when it happened, but I mean, just talk about the fallout and the years and years that it took the Magic to get over that moment of Shaq bolting from Orlando.
Well, yeah, it was like it was that I forgot about that Sentinel poll. Oh my God, that kind of lives in infamy. That should have been the first thing in my mind. Whether that had any direct impact on Shaq, I don't know, but it certainly couldn't have helped anything. But yeah, the franchise was just devastated by that, and I actually think John Gabriel did a heck of a job in reassembling what was left, especially when Penny got hurt, and then just basically kind of quit on him. Everything just kind of fell apart. But and they brought in Doc Rivers, but
Mm-hmm.
And then they were actually they remained competitive despite losing, Shaq so abruptly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
that was uh, that was a blow.
yeah. It was devastating. I mean, the Magic went from 1996 to 2007, 2008 before they won a playoff series. I still remember that first round series. Dwight Howard, uh, Jameer Nelson, Hito Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis beat Chris Bosh and the Toronto Raptors that finally broke that curse. But to think that Dwight Howard left and now the Magic are on another 14-year run without a playoff series, it's
Yeah,
funny sometimes how history repeats itself.
yeah, it sure is.
Yep. Yep. Well, that will do it. Thank you, fans, for joining us here at Denton's Dish and the Magic Beat. I'm John Denton for Dick Scanlon. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe to the show. We're going to be back again next week. Eventually, we're going to crank this thing up. We're going to do 2 shows a week. Right now, it's just 1 show a week, but next Thursday, we'll be back. Like I said, please like and subscribe to the show. Let us know. Let me know on Twitter that you heard the show. John Denton 555. But thanks for joining us and take care, Magic fans.